distinguished guests, shipmates, family, and friends, good morning and welcome. I'm Commander Chris George, and on behalf of Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, I want to welcome you to the retirement ceremony honoring Captain Jason English, U.S. Navy, and his family. This is an incredible gathering of people here today, and I am truly humbled to be your Master of Ceremonies. I would especially like to acknowledge Captain English's family and friends who have traveled great distances to be here. The ceremony is intended to convey, in part, a grateful nation's sincerest appreciation for the job well done, to officially recognize Captain English's 26 years of faithful and honorable service to the nation and Navy, and finally to pay tribute to his family for their sacrifice. Shipmates past and present are here today to witness this naval tradition. Highlights of Captain English's career will be reviewed, awards and commendations cited, and he'll be properly bid farewell. During the ceremony, Captain English will be presented with various mementos intended to recognize and express both the nation's and his shipmates' grateful appreciation for his 26 years of naval service. In this day of celebration and cheer, we ask everyone to have fun and enjoy the ceremony. Feel free to move around and take pictures if you like. Now, will the guests please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem, followed by the invocation. Side boys, post. Captain, United States Navy, arriving. United States Navy, arriving. Rear Admiral, United States Navy, arriving. Color Guard, parade the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem will be presented by Ms. Latifah Smith. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the Color guard, post the colors. Side boys, post. Ms. Smith, that was amazing. We are so grateful that you could be here today and help us send out our shipmate with style. Thank you so much. Reverend Ted Hamilton, Senior Pastor at New Life Presbyterian Church in Escondido, will now give the invocation.
Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. Let us pray. Gracious Father, hear our prayer as we invoke your assistance and presence upon all present here today as we celebrate the retirement of Captain Jason English. It is an awareness of our deep need that we look to you, Lord, so that everything we do in this life, including this great ceremony today, may begin with your help, continue with your gracious assistance, and in you come to a holy and righteous conclusion. Let our words and actions this day give due honor to Captain English and his family, and also be for the greater glory of your Son Jesus, who served well and lived, died, and rose from the dead, that we might have life with you. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Hamilton. Will the guests please be seated? Welcoming us here today is Reverend Doug Small. Reverend Small is of Birchwood, Wisconsin, and is a 1988 graduate of Marquette University. He also holds a doctorate degree in physics from Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. Reverend Small has served in a number of operational and shore assignments, to include USS Hampton, USS Iwo Jima, and the Joint Crew Composite Squadron. An engineering duty officer since 1997, when Captain English actually joined the Navy, Rear Admiral Small has numerous tours in acquisition. He currently serves as the commander of Naval Warfare Information Systems Command. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Small.
Is this on? New technology for really old people, not a good combination. Yeah, I was, by the way, I knew that. I've been an ED since you joined the Navy. That's incredible. I always think of, I have like two halves of my career, but anyways, I digress. Hey, I have a really simple job here today. It's to just say welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here. It's not very often that we get together and speak accolades about someone in our midst, like we do for Jason. And it's really for you and for the family to understand how much his service has meant to me personally, and certainly to the Navy and the entire department. Jason is, we're here to celebrate the whole person, right? Both a husband and a father and a son and a shipmate, and an absolutely brilliant military officer, and certainly one of the finest intelligence professionals that I've ever met. Jason has this wonderful ability, based on a really strong technical background, to be able to translate the highest thoughts in the intelligence profession down to what is somebody like a technology person needs to be able to do their job and do it effectively. And it's an absolutely brilliant skill that he has brought to the mix for the years that I've known him. And I just thank you, Jason, for all of the time that we've spent together and the amazing impact that you've had on me and on the entire command. So again, I will go back to my function here. Welcome. What a beautiful day. The last few days have not been so beautiful, but anyways, it looks like you got some help from above on bringing some sunshine and beautiful weather here in San Diego. So again, welcome. Thank you all very much for being here to honor Jason and his lifetime of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral. Our guest speaker today is Rear Admiral Tom Hendershot. Rear Admiral Hendershot was the Director of Intelligence at U.S. Indo-Pacific Command in Honolulu, Hawaii. Prior to his assignment in Hawaii, he served as the Senior Defense Official for the American Embassy in Beijing, China. Prior to that, he served in China. Prior to that, he served in China. So you get my point. The man knows more about China than most Chinese people. And given the fact that he's an intelligence officer, that's an accurate statement. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce Rear Admiral Tom Hendershot.
Hey, thanks very much, and thanks, Jason, for letting me be here today. 5 minutes, 5 degrees, and 5 miles. To those not in our profession, you may think this is Jason's attention span, the temperature of drinks at the reception, and some component of Navy physical fitness. They are not. They are our community, they are pertinent, and they directly describe and apply it to Captain Jason English today, much as they apply it to another naval officer 81 years ago, almost to the day. I'll circle back to 555 later, but just tuck that away for now. Hey, good morning and aloha. That's a pretty weak aloha. So how about if we try that again? Good morning and aloha.
Aloha.
Much better. Thanks very much. I bring a Hawaiian aloha spirit with me to all of you here today. English family, thank you for allowing me to celebrate Jason with you all today. I'm deeply honored to participate in such a dear friend's retirement ceremony. Admiral Small, Admiral Becker, greetings from Indo-PACOM. There's a very long list of Jason's family and friends. I'd like to mention everybody. If I omit anyone, please forgive me. So first of all, to the family, I'll talk to you specifically a bit later. Jason's brother Brett is here and was a side boy this morning. Jason's mom Sherry, Jason's surrogate mom Debbie, Jason's mother-in-law Jan and grandson August, Amy's sister Jessica, husband Ryan, brother-in-law Brian, and Zach, and I think I forgot Tyler in there somewhere, but please forgive me. Thanks for coming out to celebrate Jason. Greetings to Amy, to Jason Jr., to Luke, Lydia, and Joshua. What a terrific Navy family. Hey, this is a team sport, and I'd like right now to recognize the English family with a round of applause. Thanks. When Jason asked me to speak at his retirement, it was an immediate yes answer. Captain Jason English has been a stalwart naval intelligence officer, a personal friend for a long time. My challenge is in creating remarks that are fitting for such a fine officer, father, and husband. Traditionally, when preparing a retirement speech, one seeks facts about the retiree, some family trivia, maybe some embarrassing anecdotes. Don't worry, those are coming. But first, however, I'd like to turn to Jason's profession, upon which he's had such a significant impact, that of naval intelligence. One only requires a review of the news to ascertain that a challenge to our nation looms on the horizon. One of our peers recently noted that we are disturbingly ill-informed and naive about our future with the People's Republic of China. China is a revisionist power with a military expansion and modernization which has been unmatched in our lifetimes, that has effectively and quietly normalized behavior contrary to international law and practices. I can inform you from direct experience with the Chinese Communist Party, they are preparing for conflict with the United States every day. So what? What does the PRC have to do with Jason and the English family? Captain Jason English has been one on the forefront of preparing our community and our Navy for this contest. His time at PAC Fleet, at OPNAV N2, N6, the Office of Legislative Affairs, Deputy ACOS for Intelligence at 3rd Fleet, Strike Group 15, all have been about preparing the fleet for what we hope never arrives, yet for what we must prepare daily. It's in these circumstances that Jason and I have become shipmates and friends, and while much of Jason's activities must remain in the shadow, I can assure everyone that his effects and his efforts have mattered, and his leadership will be sorely missed. So who is this guy, Jason English? Jason is a 1997 graduate of the United States Naval Academy with a BS in electrical engineering. But as a father of a midshipman currently at the Naval Academy who just finished electrical engineering, this major should produce gasps of awe in the audience, as well as a bit of mismatch with our community of naval intelligence. He and his bride hail from Alabama, which likely explains Jason's Master of Military Operational Art and Science from the Air Command and Staff College at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. Additionally, Jason holds an MBA from William & Mary. Jason and Amy have been married for almost 24 years and have lived all over the globe: Maryland, Florida, Virginia, Nevada, Alabama, Germany, Hawaii, and California. Locations enabling family activities like camping, surfing, and skiing. You'll see in Jason's biography that he is the recipient of the Edwin T. Layton Award for Leadership in Naval Intelligence. I'd be remiss if I did not provide some context on Layton, great power competition, and Jason. As I noted earlier, our nation faced a trial 8 decades ago for which anyone who works in Hawaii is reminded on a daily basis. Then Commander Edwin T. Layton served as Admiral Nimitz's Director for Intelligence. Nimitz charged Layton, one of several impactful naval officers who spent the interwar years learning Japanese in Tokyo, as serving as his Yamamoto. In other words, Admiral Nimitz wanted Layton to be able to provide insights into the Japanese, provide predictive analytic analysis that would truly empower Nimitz and the PAC fleet in their war effort. And Layton delivered. Following the Japanese attack on 7 December 1941 and the Battle of Coral Sea in May of 1942, Layton informed Nimitz that a follow-on battle would occur. Some thought the Japanese main effort would occur in the Aleutian Islands. Layton and his team, however, argued that the Japanese main effort would occur at Midway. Layton predicted the attack would arrive, quote, on the morning of 4 June from the northwest on a bearing of 325 degrees, and the Japanese would be sighted at about 175 miles from Midway at about 0700 local time. Nimitz's response to Layton after the battle is famous. You were only 5 minutes, 5 degrees, and 5 miles out. Jason has been a 5.55 officer. On time, on task, and on target. He's the epitome of what naval intelligence can be. He demonstrated for an entire career what naval intelligence must be. Now to the English family. So Amy, I have some advice for you. Enjoy the day, take a rest, and make Jason sleep past 0600. Kids, I hope the Navy's been a positive adventure. I'm a better person for knowing your dad. And on behalf of the United States Navy, thank you for your support to Dad, your moving around, and the painful absences from him over the years. I know they're only words, but thank you very much. In a small tribute, I'd like to say, great job in the way we communicate that with my coin, and I'll give that to you right after the ceremony today with an explanation of what my coin means. Hey JC, off to Baylor Med School. Bravo Zulu, good job, and continue to get after it. Luke and Joshua, time to get more grappling practice in with Dad. Some arm bars, and not too much time, you'll be getting him to a submission. And Lydia, enjoy some additional time on the basketball court. Jason, now to you. Could you have predicted on that hot day in July in 1993, standing in front of Mother B, that you would be here today? I, for one, thank God that you are. Your career launched when Ariana Grande was born, when Michael Jordan retired from basketball, when Beanie Babies were launched, when Whitney Houston sang I Will Always Love You, when Jurassic Park, the first one, dominated the box office and gasoline cost $1.16 a gallon. In a more strategic perspective, your career launched when Star 2 was signed between President Bush and President Yeltsin. Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk won the Nobel Peace Prize, and Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat signed a peace agreement on the White House lawn. But the adversary, Jiang Zemin was General Secretary, Zhang Lianzhong was Commander. The plan did not yet possess Kilo submarines, and the most advanced surface combatant was the Luda-DD. U.S. naval engagement with the plan was still suspended following Tiananmen. You have literally encompassed our most significant challenge, and you've led the Navy's response. Thank you. Hey, the stories and the family love, the stories from Jason's career of bad underway haircuts, dining in food fights, will be with you forever, and hopefully believe will continue to grace your holiday dinner tables forever. But now what? What's the path? Some advice to you. As I said earlier, sleep in, brother. Enjoy your family and your time. Stay plugged in and continue to help and fix. You've shaped our juniors and our seniors. You've mentored sailors and officers. You've trained the next generation. You've prevented surprise. You've assisted Congress, and you've gone to war. Thank you. I'm sure for you, like me, this is bittersweet. I'm elated to be here with you, but saddened to lose such a stellar naval intelligence officer. To paraphrase General Colin Powell on his retirement, you've gone in harm's way to protect us. You've provided for the common defense. You are the best and brightest of America. You've succeeded in every undertaking and mission, and you've represented the American people with an exemplary and superb manner. Like Powell, on this day, I'm sure memories flash in your conscience. Your first night in Bancroft Hall, commissioning, deployments, meeting Amy, your wedding, the births of your 5 wonderful children, the loss of family members and shipmates, and work and accomplishments that are now past CPA and opening. I'll tell you, however, that the most important memories are those not in your conscience today. Those of juniors and seniors to whom you provided stellar advice and counsel, the students that you trained at Nimitzi, the golden warriors of VFA 87 you kept safe, the sources you protected, the intel professionals you prepared, they're all silently with you today. And congratulations, love, and camaraderie. In closing, my friend, I wish you the best for your future and urge you to continue to contribute to the defense of our nation. And like all in our profession, we pass a fair winds, following seas, and clear skies. We have to watch.
Thank you very much. Captain English's eldest son, Jason Jr., will now offer his remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason English Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored Restart. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests and distinguished members of the Navy community. Today is a remarkable day, a day that marks the culmination of a long and illustrious career in service to our great nation. As I stand before you, I am deeply honored to address everyone on behalf of my father, a man who has dedicated his life to the United States Navy. Today we celebrate not only the end of an era, but also the beginning of a well-deserved retirement for my father. From the earliest days of my life, I've admired my father's unwavering commitment to duty, honor, and country. Growing up, I watched him put on his uniform with pride and purpose, ready to embark on missions that took him away from us for extended periods. But it was in those months, filled with bittersweet goodbyes, that I learned about the sacrifices and the incredible sense of duty that define the men and women who serve in the Navy, as well as the sacrifices for my mom, who would say goodbye to this clean-cut, freshly shaven man who would come back from deployment with a giant bushy beard, looking like they dropped Bob Ross in Afghanistan. Throughout his career, my father has faced countless challenges and overcome adversity with resilience and determination. From deployments across the world's oceans to demanding exercises and missions, he has consistently demonstrated his unwavering devotion to his duties. His leadership and unwavering commitment have earned him the respect and admiration of his colleagues and subordinates alike. You know, as long as I've been alive, my father has always told me that he was Superman. Even now that I'm an adult and about to go to college, he continues to be adamant to the fact that he is Superman. Well, Dad, sitting here today, I'd say you are Superman. Everyone knows a superhero is someone you look up to, someone you wish you could be like, and someone that swoops in to save the day. Well, for me, you are my superhero. And even though I piss you off a lot, you still welcome me back every time with open arms, willing to help me again and again. And you have always had my back, and I will forever be grateful for the sacrifices you have made for me, as you have shaped me into the man that I know God wants me to be. Behind every successful sailor stands an equally remarkable family. and I am proud to be a part of this Navy family. My mother, my siblings, and I often have felt the weight, separation, and uncertainty that comes with military life. We have also witnessed the deep bonds formed within the Navy community, the unbreakable connections, the lifelong friendships, and the unwavering support that sustains each member and their loved ones. To my father, my mentor, hero, and role model, I cannot begin to put into words the immense pride and admiration I feel for you. You have not only shaped my life, but also the lives of countless others. Your dedication, integrity, and selflessness have left a permanent mark on all those who have had the privilege of serving alongside of you. As you transition into civilian life, I have no doubt you will continue to make a positive impact on the world around you. Your wealth of knowledge, experience, and leadership will be sorely missed within the Navy, but I am excited to witness the next chapter of your life unfold. On behalf of our family, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to the Navy community for embracing us, supporting us, and providing a sense of belonging throughout our journey. Your camaraderie and unwavering support have made us feel like a part of something greater than ourselves. To all the men and women in uniform, thank you for your service, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to protecting our nation's freedom. It is because of your dedication and bravery that we can sleep soundly at night. And finally, to my father, thank you for being my hero, my guiding light, and my inspiration. Your selfless service to our country will forever be etched in our hearts. As you embark on this new chapter in your life, may it be filled with joy, fulfillment, and the knowledge that you have made a profound difference in the lives of so many. Congratulations on your retirement, Dad. I love you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Rear Admiral Small will now present Captain English with his End of Tour Award. Will the guests please rise? Attention to award. The citation reads, "The President of the United States takes great pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit to Captain Jason C. English, United States Navy, for service set forth in the following citation. For exceptionally meritorious conduct and performance of outstanding service as Director for Acquisition Intelligence, Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, San Diego, California, from August 2020 through May 2023. As Principal Threat Advisor to the Commander, Chief Engineer, and affiliated program executive offices, with visionary leadership, inspirational managerial style, and deep technical expertise, he delivered unprecedented level of intelligence support across 3 program executive offices, including critical cross-intelligence community leadership to Project Overmatch. He led the Acquisition Intelligence Requirements Management Program of scientific and technical intelligence in the identification of priority intelligence requirements. His acumen, skill, and programmatic oversight ensured the integration and alignment of intelligence with cybersecurity risk assessments and intelligence production, optimizing the effectiveness of critical systems delivered across naval and joint forces. By ensuring these capabilities were properly designed to withstand any challenge to our sailors, he expertly bolstered the defense of our nation. Captain English's superior performance of duties highlights the culmination of 26 years of honorable and dedicated service. By his dynamic direction, keen judgment, and loyal dedication to duty, Captain English reflected credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, Andrew S. Hopito, Director, Navy Staff. Will the guests please be seated? Additionally, Captain English has received a certificate of appreciation from our 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush, which reads, "Dear Jason, thank you for your service in the United States Armed Forces. I am proud to have served as your Commander-in-Chief, and I am pleased to join your family, friends, and colleagues in recognizing your career and accomplishments. Throughout history, dedicated men and women of our military have protected our citizens and preserved the ideals that make our country strong. Their courage and sacrifice have inspired countless people and helped shape America's character. On behalf of a grateful nation, I thank you for your contributions to our security and the cause of peace and freedom. Your service, patriotism, and selfless devotion have helped advance the universal hope of liberty at home and around the world. Laura and I send our best wishes for health and happiness in the years ahead. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless America. Sincerely, George W. Bush." Captain English has also received letters of appreciation from Governor Kay Ivey and Senators Tommy Tuberville and Katie Britt from his hometown state of Alabama, as well as Representative Michael Turner from Ohio's 10th Congressional District. He will also receive a certificate of appreciation from our current Commander-in-Chief, President Joseph R. Biden, Jr. Now, recognize that Captain English could never have made it here without on his own merit. Will the ushers please escort the good captain's wife, Amy, and children Jason, Luke, Lydia, and Joshua to the front of the stage. Certificate of Appreciation of the United States Navy to all whose CDs presents greetings. To Amy, Jason Jr., Luke, Lydia, and Joshua. Today, after completing 26 years of active naval service, your husband and father has ended a career of honorable and faithful service to his country, and his efforts are sincerely appreciated. Such a rich and rewarding career reflects a strong commitment to the principles of freedom and democracy and the belief that they must be upheld at all costs. That type of commitment is not possible without the full support of the entire family. Although you may have never had to carry out military orders or deploy into hostile waters, your loyal and steadfast support of your husband's and father's career can rightly be viewed as service to your country. That loyalty and dedication were significant sources of strength for your husband and father during arduous duty and exemplified the highest traditions of patriotism. On behalf of the grateful nation, the Department of the Navy, the officers and crew of Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, I extend to you sincere thanks and express our appreciation for a job well done. Given this day, 31 May 2023, Douglas Small, Rear Admiral, United States Navy, Commander, Naval Information Warfare Systems Command. Thank you, Admiral Small. According to some accounts of naval history and tradition, when a sailor retires and is departing the ship for the last time, it's considered bad luck for that sailor's shadow to touch land before he does. Thus, the sailor's shipmates would construct a sturdy box, handcrafted of the finest materials, in which to display mementos of the sailor's accomplishments, thereby symbolically creating a shadow of the sailor. These mementos, many include personal awards, medals, duty stations, insignia, and uniform devices that indicate progression through various military ranks. It may also include those things that meant the most to the sailor throughout his career. The national flag is also placed inside or atop the shadow box, symbolizing the country that has benefited from the faithful service of the recipient of that shadow box. So, Captain English, on behalf of your family and fellow shipmates, we present you with this shadow box. Within it lie artifacts from your career, including the flag of the United States Navy, and they represent a lifetime of valiant and faithful service. As Captain English prepares to go ashore for the last time, it is important to note that his retirement is historic because it means that he and his family have dedicated their lives to something more than themselves, and that is no small statement. Devoting your life in service to family, service, and country is as much a statement as being a leader as it is of being a humble servant. Captain English, as we wish you fair winds and following seas, thank you.
this on? Okay. Son, that's going to be hard to beat. I've been to a number of ceremonies, many of which have been out here in this very venue, and oftentimes sitting out in the audience, I've often imagined to be on this side of the podium, and I'll tell you that there is nothing that can prepare you for this moment. There really isn't. Some of you that are out in the audience that have been here before, Scott spoke at his retirement ceremony. It is truly remarkable, and I appreciate everybody being here today. Everyone's career has a story. Mine begins in 1992. It was spring semester. I was at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I was in my Psychology 101 class. I was sitting next to a friend of mine. He's probably watching on the live stream, Blaine Godley. We were sitting just discussing life, trying to figure out what it is we wanted to do when we grew up. Frankly, it's something I've yet to be able to figure out, even to this very day. But back then, it was the Navy. I wanted to join the Navy. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about the Naval Academy?" I'm from a small town in Alabama, so I said, "No, what's that?" Well, the seed was planted that day, and I stand before you today, 31 years later, in my last day in uniform, to say goodbye to the greatest fighting force on the planet, and an institution that has come to mean so very much to me and my family. Admiral Small, Admiral Hendershed, Reverend Hamilton, fellow Nacho 17 classmates, great Naval Academy class in 1997 in the house, distinguished guests, Admiral Becker, thank you. Family, friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and good morning. Amy and I are humbled by your presence, and we're thrilled that you're here to celebrate this very special day with our family. Today not only represents the culmination of our 26-year journey together in the Navy, but it marks the beginning of the next chapter in the story of our family. Before I begin, I'd really like to thank a few special people that helped with the ceremony, for a few words of gratitude. First, I'd like to thank the Navy Band, Admiral Kitt's staff, Miss Smith. That was absolutely amazing. How about another round of applause for Miss Smith? Petty Officer Herman, wherever he is, for actually getting all of the ceremony equipment put together. Thank you. All the participants and many, many others that put this ceremony together made this truly momentous occasion all the more special. To my family and friends who traveled from all over the country to be here, and those here locally who took time out of your day to be here, thank you for honoring me and my family with your presence. Admiral Small, Admiral Hendershed, thank you for being a part of this and speaking in your kind and inspiring words. Admiral Hendershed, thank you for being my guest of honor. Your leadership in our community, your mentorship, your personal friendship to me has meant so very much to me and has really guided me through over half of my career. Thank you for being here. Scott, Melody, thank you for coming. Scott, we've been friends almost half my life, man. This man is the epitome of iron sharpens iron. He's a true friend. He's always been there when I've needed him the most. When we had a personal tragedy, I kid you not, for a full year, 365 days, this man sent me an email encouraging me every single day. He flew out here from Virginia Beach, Virginia, to run with me through 11 miles of dust and mud through a tough mutter race up in Temecula, just because I felt it important that he be here. And he's honest with me. He often tells me what I need to hear, whether I want to hear it or not. So thank you for being here, Scott. Thank you for being a friend. My brother, Brett. Brett, no one on this earth apart from our mom has been in my life longer than you have been. Born as brothers, we now live as friends. That's pretty cool. You always supported me and helped me navigate life. Often helped me see things that either I couldn't or those that I could from a completely different perspective. You've always been in my corner. Always made me feel a little bit more proud about myself. Thank you. To my mother-in-law, Jan. I'm not sure how someone like you could ever come to accept someone like me, a hyper-conservative military officer, but as a self-professed Woodstock alum. But it's a testament to your character, and I thank you, Jan. Thank you for entrusting me with your daughter and embracing me as your very own all these years. I love you, Jan. To my mom. No tears. Thank you, not just for being here, Mom, but helping me get here. You loved and supported me all my life. You have always been one of my biggest fans. You've imbued in me countless virtues that have formed the fabric of who I am today. You've been beside me through all my successes and all my failures. You celebrated with me at the peaks of my life, and you've lifted me out of the valleys. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for all you've taught me. I'm so proud to be your son. I love you. Put this one on short notice. On July 1st, 1993, I stood with 1,200 other men and women in the middle of Tecumseh Court in Annapolis and recited the oath of office of a midshipman. That day, I took my first step on a journey, one that would take me all over the world and allow me to see and do things I never thought were possible for a young man from a small town in Alabama. 3 years later, I met a radiant young woman with long blonde hair and a light in her eye that captivated my soul. I invited her to Annapolis to our homecoming game against Duke that year. She asked if it would be cold, trying to figure out what she needed to pack. Well, it was October in Maryland, so naturally I assured her that all she needed was sandals and her little southern sundress. It was in the low 40s that weekend. I know that because I'm reminded of it often. I think we actually had a very similar conversation for this venue here today, so not much changes. But despite our different definitions of hot and cold, and perhaps against her better judgment, she agreed to marry me on October 10th, 1999. I began yet another journey, one that has been filled with joys unimaginable absent her in my life. Together, we've given birth to 5 beautiful children. We've lived in 11 different homes. We traveled to 9 different countries, driven across this one 3 times, with and without diapers. We shared the loss of our beloved son, Evan. There's no one on the face of this planet that I can look at across the room and without a single word have a complete conversation. None that I would want to. Amy, I'm a better man because of you. God has used you to bring out the best in me. Next to him, you're my source of strength and refuge here on this earth. You've been faithful. You've been honest. You've been steadfast all these years. You've kept our home. You've educated our children. You've been a doctor, a dentist, a chauffeur, a chef, and so much more. You've absorbed every one of my responsibilities and all of my absences. You're full of life and laughter. Just ask the kids. You're the fun mommy. And on top of it all, you're absolutely stunning. You always have been, Amy. But your most defining quality is the strength of your love and fidelity to me and our children. Proverbs 31 says, an excellent wife who can find? I did. God allowed me to find an excellent wife. And I'm so very thankful for you in my life. I'm thankful for you allowing me to love what I do and serve my country and my Navy. Thank you, Amy. To my children, I thank each and every one of you for all the love and sacrifice you made throughout the years. Yeah, Joshua, it's coming. All the stress and frustration with each move, all the goodbyes to your friends, all the lost or broken toys. Jason, son, 18 years is not enough time in our home, man. He's going to Baylor this year. You heard it. Sick 'em Bears. Son, I couldn't be more proud of you. I couldn't be more excited for you. You've always been a bedrock in our home. You've always been there when I've needed you the most. I can't tell you how great a comfort that's been. You're dependable. You're loyal. And as demonstrated, you are as authentic as it gets. I'm so proud of you and the man that you've become. I'm going to miss you more than you'll ever know. Luke, son, you completely live up to your name. You have brought so much light to our home. You always have. You have a very deep keel. Your character is mighty. You've grown into such a fine young man with such great integrity, and that gives me the comfort of knowing that when trials come, that when it gets tough, you're going to do what's right. I see it in you, and it gives me great comfort. Thank you for that. Lydia, you're such a treasure to me. You're so full of love and tenderness. You're growing into such a strong and beautiful woman, just like your mom. You have a spirit about you, and it reflects in everything you do, helping our mom keep our home, but also the intentionality in how you nurture all of our relationships back together, even in the chaos. You've done that. You've been the glue in our home. Thank you for being the binding force in our home. Joshua Manovich. Oh my gosh, son, you defy physics. I'll never understand how such a tremendous spirit can fit in such a tiny little body. It shows in everything about you, your diligence, your attitude, your smile, on full display right now. It's infectious, and it often reminds me of what I wish I had. Son, thank you for the joy you bring to our home and the laughter you bring to our heart. And lastly, of course, my God, I thank him for everything in my life. He's given me so many opportunities and has allowed me to see and do things I never would have absent his sovereign hand guiding me in my life. And he's also placed me in the path of so many special people that have made such an impact in my life. One of those in particular was my grandfather, Charles Bean. He was also in the Navy. He was a gunner's mate. He's the one who actually seeded my affinity for the Navy very early in my youth. I have very fond memories as a kid, sitting at his picnic table, gorging myself off the fresh pecans we just pulled out of his tree, listening to him tell sea story after sea story. I would sit just captivated, watching him almost transport himself back in time. Just too young to see it then, I can clearly see it now as an adult, how all those experiences had shaped his life and developed his love for the Navy. So like him, I'd like to share with you a few things that serving in the Navy has taught me and has helped shape my life and love for the Navy. After a 26-year career, you can imagine the list is quite long. I will spare you and leave it to 3. Pastor, 3? Good? All right. Sermon template, right? First thing, right? Top 3 things Navy's taught me. Ready? Here we go. Humility is the foundation of leadership. It was 1999. I was on my first deployment on the USS Theodore Roosevelt, parked right there. I was assigned to VF 87. The senior enlisted in charge of the Intel Center there was then Chief, now retired Master Chief Mike Haas. Hopefully he's watching today. One afternoon, after we ended our campaign in Kosovo, and we were on our way to the Gulf, he approached me and asked me if he could have a word with me. Now, as a young ensign at the time, I was pretty green, clearly way too naive to understand what was about to happen. Master Chief Galvez, you understand, she's over there cackling. We went back to a small media room where we recorded all the intel briefs. He politely dismissed the young analyst sitting at the console, and then he turned and he locked the door. He asked to speak openly. I'm not sure I had a choice. But like an overconfident ensign, I said, "Sure, Chief, what's up?" He said, "Sir, you're messing things up." And if you know Master Chief Haas, you know that his choice of words were a bit more colorful. I found myself right there at a crossroad. I knew this conversation was going to go one of 2 ways. And rather than letting my pride get the best of me, I think it's probably one of the better decisions I've made in my career. I opted instead to listen to wisdom and experience. I sat down, I opened my green standard issue notebook and said, "All right, Chief, tell me what I'm doing wrong." And he did. He told me what I was doing wrong. He told me the impact that it was having on the sailors, but he didn't stop there. He gave me the tools to fix it. He told me what I needed to do to fix it. He taught me a lot about humility that day, and I left that room a different officer. The popular phrase today is leadership is love. Retired Admiral Craig Fowler, my former boss, describes this very well by contrasting a superficial love for being part of a winning team versus a much deeper love for being for the people and the mission in that team. Leadership is love because love is an action. It's not an emotion. It's a verb. It's showing empathy and compassion to others and making a sacrifice for yourself for the sake of those people. You can't make that sacrifice unless you count your joys and comforts as less, and that, by definition, is humility. So the foundation of leadership is humility, I believe. Without humility, you can't love, and without love, you can't lead. Sorry. Okay, second lesson. Take each shot. This one's a little hard. Former Canadian hockey player and coach Wayne Gretzky once said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." His comment highlights the notion that when you're faced with an opportunity or challenge and you don't take a shot at it, you always miss what could come of it. As I mentioned before, as many of you know, Amy and I lost our son Evan in 2011 to a tragic window fall. We were stationed in Hawaii. Changed our life. And all that followed after the fact, we learned that the requirement for window safety devices military homes was removed when it was privatized decades ago. When we learned this, we made it our life mission to do something about it, but we didn't know how. We had no clue. Fast forward to 2015, I found myself in D.C. I was stationed at the Pentagon. I was working for Miss Lynn Wright, the then Deputy Director for Naval Intelligence. After only a few months there, I was asked if I wanted to be the congressional liaison in the Navy's Office of Legislative Affairs. Now, let me just share with you, as Admiral Henderson had mentioned, I was an electrical engineering major at the Naval Academy. Law is not my jam. Right? Matter of fact, the only failing grades I ever received at the Academy were in my naval law class. They remember it. Those guys sitting over there, I would put in hack. They made fun of me quite a bit. Besides, I really like my current job. I said no. As you can imagine, being in the military, that doesn't go over too well. And despite all my efforts to get out of the job, for whatever reason, the big boss, the 3-star, he wanted me in it. And one day I remember sitting at my desk, I was just kind of grumbling in my spirit. And I was overcome by the sense that I just needed to embrace this, to take the shot. And I prayed, God, this is your will. It's not mine. Just help me do the best that I can. A few months later, I get an email asking me to lead a congressional delegation for Congressman Michael Turner, Republican representative from Ohio, on a trip to Europe. So I plan the trip. I fly to Belgium. I meet up with his congregation. We move on to Austria and then our final stop in London. On the last night we were there, we all went to dinner. I was sitting across from a British politician. One of his former colleagues had accompanied us on part of their trip. He and I were having a casual conversation. Congressman Turner was otherwise engaged in a conversation with his staffers. And he was asking about our family. He was enamored with the size of our family, homeschool. And as you could imagine, talking about our family is kind of hard to not talk about our story in Evan. I could tell at some point Congressman Turner disengaged from his conversation with his staffers and started to focus in on ours. And when I mentioned my desire for legislation to bring window safety back to military housing, Congressman Turner literally slammed his hand on the table and said, Jason, you realize I'm on the House Armed Services Committee. Well, I was an intel officer. I knew that. And he said, you come to my office next week. We're going to pass that law, and we'll call it Evans Law. 3 days later, with the help of an amazing group of child safety advocates, I walked into Turner's office with draft legislation in hand. And 3 months later, I found myself sitting with my family in the House gallery on Capitol Hill as he introduced Evans Law on the House floor in the 2018 National Defense Authorization Act. Pretty amazing story, right? I'll add this. A few months go by and I get a call from the Chief of Staff from Congressman Mac Thornberry's office. Mind you, he's the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, so he's a pretty big deal. She says, Jason, can you come to my office? Again, one of those moments I didn't think I had a choice. I said, sure. So I go to her office and it's her and one other staffer. And she says, Jason, Congressman Turner comes to us every year with at least 10 items to introduce into the National Defense Authorization Act. You know how many he came this year with? One. He put all his chips in on the Evans Law. And I'm telling you, it passed. A few months later, it was signed into law as the 2018 National Defense Authorization Act. And it mandates window safety devices in all homes, all military homes, current and future. A lasting legacy for all military families. So it's easy to look at this story or hear it and assume that the opportunity or the shot was taking the job as a congressional liaison. In many ways, it was. I stated it. Sometimes I also view this just a little bit differently. I sometimes believe the shot was actually losing Evan. It certainly wasn't a shot I had to take, but it was one I had to embrace. You see, opportunities are not always positive. They're sometimes negative. They're sometimes trials, and we don't want trials. Lord knows Amy and I didn't want to lose our son, but God had a purpose in it. And I had a front row seat in watching his divine hand work an amazing work. God calls us in the book of Romans to rejoice in our suffering, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And that hope is in a loving, sovereign Lord who gave his only son willingly so that we could spend an eternity with him. Like King David said, when he lost his son, I will go to see him. And that's real hope. I know, too, I'll go see my son one day, and it's because of that very hope. So I think the lesson's pretty clear. Take the shot or embrace the shot when that opportunity comes your way. Don't let it pass you by because it doesn't look right. And certainly don't be like me and try to avoid it or shake your fist at God because you don't want it. You never know what those opportunities might bring. And I'm telling you right now, I am living proof that those opportunities come for a reason. They have a purpose, and that purpose is good. Recognize them for what they are and take the shot. Okay, almost done. The last and final lesson I'll share with you is that I learned how to be a part of something so much bigger than myself. A familiar ideal, we see this daily in our lives, sports, religion, business. From day one in my journey at the Navy, starting in Annapolis, over 1,000 of us were steeped in it daily. Inscribed over the chapel doors at the Naval Academy reads Non sibi sed patriae, which is Latin for not for self, but for country. As plebes, one of the oft-repeated rates we had to recite was the 5th law of the Navy, and I will ask all of those to join in with me. It says something like this: on the strength of one link in the cable dependeth the might of the chain. Who knows when thou mayest be tested, so live that thou bearest the strain. The ideal here is pretty clear. It's not about me, it's something so much bigger. But reciting this ideal is different than learning it or living it. Frankly, it's not something you can learn from memorization. You learn it through experience. You learn it through getting through situations, being totally and completely reliant upon the actions of others who are gifted, who are intelligent, and who are committed to embracing the idea and willfully submit to mission and team. Like Lieutenant Steph Sigurdson, South St. Thomas, Mimi Gaffney, retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeants Heinz Kiefer, Katie Racine, Army Chief Warrant Officer Steve Warner, civilians Mike Nakonechny, Omar Kalai, Leah Maluski, Al Pomerantz, Vladimir Tumanov. You all made our time in Germany one of the most spectacular tours in my career. Like the Pac Fleet Mayock team, Matt Akafora, Donnie Ferguson, Mike Munoz, Justin Sprague, Dave Silva, Master Chiefs Dan Oldham, Tara O'Brien, the entire Pacific Fleet Intel Federation team. You completely carried me through that tour in what was the darkest season of my life. Like Chief Warrant Officer Matt Stinkaway, Master Chiefs Mike DeCenzo, Sean Lorgan, Commanders Jeff Freeland, Mick Bronze, the true heavy lifters of the 3rd Fleet Intel team. Lastly, most importantly, my home team. My wife, my children, you dedicated yourself to the mission of our home, and you willfully sacrificed yourself along each step of this journey. I'm up here because of you. I served because you served. And I thank you. We all thank you here. You all and so many others helped me look outside myself and see that I was part of something so much bigger, something grand. Grand because it was full of people dedicated to a mission and willing to submit themselves to accomplish it. See, when we submit ourselves to something larger, we find something unique. We find purpose. Purpose in who we are, not just in what we do or what's on our collar or what's on our signature block. Tim Tebow speaks of this in his book, Mission Possible. Simon Sinek calls this finding your why. I actually think Garth Brooks captures it quite well in one of his songs. I will spare you the agony of not singing it, as I often do to myself in the car. But he writes this: there's 2 days in time that they'll carve on your stone, and everyone knows what they mean. What's more important is the time that is known, and that little dash there in between. So as I close here today, I'll offer a few final words. That dash is our mission, and we're called to find that mission and own it. Owning that mission is about living an intentional life and not chasing fanciful idols that bog us down and distract us. So make the most of the dash in between. Set your sight horizon well beyond yourself and embrace something much larger than you. And when you see those opportunities come, take the shot. A great mentor once told me, you're either the horse or you're the rider. You decide. Thank you. And with that, I'm ready to retire.
Thank you, Captain English. The ceremonial passing of the flag of the United States, known as Old Glory, is a time-honored tradition by which individuals or group of patriots he or she represents is honored. Passing the flag symbolizes the career path of the retiree. Each service member represents a stage of the retiree's distinguished career. The flag represents the devotion to service and country. The flag is ultimately passed to the retiree and is given to him as a token of this country's appreciation for his dedicated and faithful service. The flag presented today to Captain Jason English is given to him by a grateful country. The American flag you will see passed in today's ceremony has special significance to Captain English. On May 23rd, 1997, in Annapolis, Maryland, Captain English, along with many sitting in this very audience, swore an oath to support and defend our Constitution of the United States, thus commencing their career as naval officers. On the same day, 26 years later, May 23rd, 2023, this very flag was flown over the United States Naval Academy, where it all began for Captain English. And it is fitting for him or her to be here today as we celebrate and honor both Captain English and his family for more than a quarter century of faithful and dedicated service to our nation. Flag detail, post.
Detail.
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, truth, honor, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident. I am arrogant. I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher, my colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped. I am saluted. I am respected, revered. I am loved, and I am feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, and the jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Tarawa, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Iraq, Afghanistan, and a score of other places long forgotten by all, except by those who were there with me. I was there. I led my sailors and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill in Iwo Jima, and I was battle-worn and tired, and my sailors and Marines cheered me. I was proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September 11th as cowardly fanatics attacked America. I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters, heroes who risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, although bloodied, will never be beaten. Those who would destroy me cannot win, for I am the symbol of freedom, of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have been soiled, burned, torn and trampled in the streets of my own country, and when it is done by them that I have served with in battle, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth. From my vantage point of the moon, I stand watch over uncharted new frontiers of space. I have been silent witness of all of America's finest hours. But my finest hour comes when I am torn into strips and use as bandages for the wounded comrades in the field of battle. When I fly half-mast to honor my soldiers, my sailors, my airmen, my guardians, and my Marines. When I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the gravesite of her fallen son or daughter, I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave. Dear God, long may I wave. Flag detail, right base. Hand salute. Ready, two. The flag serve as a reminder of their faithful service to our nation. And salute. Ready, two. Flag detail. Left face. Forward march. In accordance with naval regulations and tradition, the United States Navy calls its assigned and appointed place of duty the watch. And to be at that appointed place of duty is called standing watch. There are many general orders and regulations regarding watches that sailors stand. However, one of the most important is that sailor will stand his or her watch until properly relieved by another qualified watchstander. Captain Scott Tazen, Commodore, Marine Expeditionary Security Group 1, having begun his own career standing alongside Captain English in June of 1993, will now recite the watch and relieve Captain English.
Well, Jason, first off, it's a real honor. Thank you. Captain English, stand by to be relieved. For 26 years, Captain English stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this shipmate stood the watch. While some of us were in school, learning our trade, this shipmate stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this shipmate stood the watch. In those years when storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizons of history, this shipmate stood the watch. Many times he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times, but he still stood the watch. Captain English stood the watch for 26 years. He stood the watch so that we, our families, and our fellow countrymen could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that this sailor stood the watch. Today, we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. Captain English, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Amy, probably didn't expect this part, but despite the fact that your husband is the one on the stage, the one with the name on the program, and the one who was just relieved of his watch, so too have you stood the watch. And although I'm in uniform, I'm also a Navy wife, and I know all too well what standing the wife's watch means, what it requires of you. Make no mistake, this ceremony is as much about you as it is about him. You have faithfully stood by your husband his entire career. In so doing, you have faithfully served our nation. You have faithfully stood the watch. So Amy, will you please rise and stay standing? For 26 years, Amy English stood the watch. While her sailor answered the call from the sea, she stood on the shore, fighting down the fear that he would not return. In his absences, She has had to deal with car repairs, home maintenance, financial worries, children's injuries, and illnesses. All these and more she has taken in stride so that her sailor could proudly serve our nation. Today, the side buoys are posted and the boatswain stands ready to pipe. As she has for so many years, this sailor's wife stands waiting on the shore. Soon the pipe will sound and her sailor will come ashore for the last time. His watch stands relieved, so does. Gratefully honor her courage and steadfastness and to the both of them for the new life they now begin.
Post it. Post it. Post the side boys.
Piping ashore is a historical, traditional naval ceremony that began in the 1700s, when the ship's boatswain mate manned the boatswain pipe to control the actions of sailors posting the manning lines. Visiting officers were brought aboard in baskets from a small boat. Side boys were assigned to assist in the hoisting and to swing the basket aboard. The more senior officers were generally stouter and normally required more side boys. These days, the piping ashore is reserved for both officers and enlisted men and women who have completed their career serving their country in the highest traditions of naval service. There are no baskets involved in today's ceremony. Now, the retiree passes by the side boys, who salute as the boatswain helps him ashore. Traditionally, the retiree requests permission to go ashore for the last time, symbolizing the end of a naval career. We will now receive a benediction by Reverend Hamilton and remain standing for the order to go ashore.
Pray.
Let us pray. Father, we have been reminded today that the freedom and peace we enjoy in this country, you do not give to us directly, but through the hands, the work, the character, and the sacrifice of men and women like Captain Jason English. So we thank you for Jason, his humility, his work ethic, and his servant leadership. Continue to grow him in the grace and the knowledge of the Lord, and I ask that you would continue to guide and direct him with wisdom and grace in this next chapter of his life. And we also thank you, Lord, for Amy, for Jason Jr., Evan, Luke, Lydia, and Joshua, for their sacrificial and unselfish behind-the-scenes service in support of their husband and dad. Lord, keep them close to your heart. Hold them in your grace. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. And now to Captain English and Amy, your children, your shipmates, and your friends.
May the Lord bless you.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you. Give you peace. Amen.
Rear Admiral Hendershot will now read Captain English's retirement orders. Captain English, attention to orders.
Keeper's orders here.
Newpers Order 0463, official retirement orders for Captain Jason Corbett English, United States Navy. The request to be transferred to the retired list was approved by the Secretary of the Navy effective 01 September 2023. On 01 September 2023, you will be transferred to the retired list with the grade of captain, with retired pay of captain pursuant to provisions of Title 10 U.S. Code, Section 8323.
Captain English, United States Navy, retired, departing. As a final tribute, Captain English will escort his wife Amy and his children, Jason, Luke, Lydia, and Joshua, through the sideboards in honor of all of their sacrifice and dedication throughout Captain English's naval career. Navy family, retired, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the ceremony. On behalf of Captain English and the entire command, I would like to thank you for attending. The reception will follow at Ballast Point, Miramar, beginning at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Thank you. Have a great day.